sharing some techniques on how I made this corset dress. If this sounds like something you want to learn, then you want to stay tuned to the end of this video. Subscribe if you haven't. Click on the dumbbell bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Without further ado, let's jump right into this tutorial. Starting off with my pattern piece, I'm going to be measuring out my cup size. So I have the indication, my chest line, my bust line, my true bust line, and on the bust line. So on the bust line, I'm going down by 2 cm. I'm going to mark that down, and then I'm going in by 1 cm. So that 1 cm, I'm going to connect that all the way to the under bust line. You can still try this method out if you're not using Natalie Bray bodice pattern. You just need to know where all these lines are, your bust line, your true bust line, and all of that. So I'm going ahead now to measure out my cup width, and this measurement is just basically taken from your center front all the way to the end. And of course, when doing this, if you have a shoulder that you want to close this up, this enable you mimic the breast cup properly. You can skip this part. I'm going to tell you why as we proceed with this video, but I basically marked out 1 cm, which was supposed to be for our seam allowance. On the waistline, where we have the dart, I'm marking out 0.5 cm. This might be different on your own pattern depending on how you drafted it, and I'm connecting that with my French curve. I have an online course where I teach how to draft this pattern, and if it sounds like something you're interested in learning, the link is going to be in the description box below. You can hit me up on Instagram. So next up, we're going down by, initially we went down by 2 inches, but I felt like this 2 inches is not going to cut it out for me, and I proceeded to just wipe that off with my eraser and go down more by 3 inches. So basically now I went down by 3 inches instead of 2. So the first line is 2 inches. This is, you can play around with this depending on what you want, how you want your corset to look. I'm just basically going to be highlighting all these lines with my marker. So initially my plan was to have panels on my corset, which made me make all these lines. I ended up not doing the panels, and you will find out why. So I'm basically still going ahead to highlight all my lines, and this line will just be an indication of where we're going to be cutting out. This is why I absolutely love pattern making, because it gives me room to play around. It gives me room to adjust whatever design I want to create. I could just do everything on my pattern piece. Now this is where it becomes a little bit tricky. I wanted sleeves, but I don't want that effect of sleeves on the bodice. So I went ahead to place my sleeve on my armhole, taking out my darts basically, and just tracing out my sleeve on the armhole. So this effect now would help me eliminate that joining on the shoulder we're going to have there. And the sleeve I wanted was, very minimal, not like obvious. I also wanted the bags to have loops, and loops that you could use buttons with. for the bottom part, we're going to be transferring our that, and I took the measurement of our that and transferred that to the side. And also, in order to avoid those gaping at the back when you snatch your corset, I often take out about 1.5 inches on the side. So that's what I did over there. So for the front as well, we're going to be taking just the that measurement. So I took the that measurement and I sent that to the side because I didn't want any front darts at all. Once you're done cutting out your pattern piece, you also want to repeat the same cutting you did on your fabric. And the fabric we're going to be using two types of fabric. We're going to be using our illusion net, both stretchy and non-stretchy, and I'm also going to be using our skin color crepe. I want you guys to take note, I cut out 4 pieces of the center front I'm holding over there, and this center back I cut out 4 pieces as well of crepe. I went ahead for this center front, the upper part, I cut out 2 pieces, and for the CB one you can see over there, I cut out 4 pieces. So just take note, guys. We have our boning case, and the measurement of this boning case is determined by the size of your boning and your seam allowance. So let's say the size of your boning is 0.5, you're going to do 0.5 plus 0.5, which is 1 inch, and your seam allowance, so you're going to add that up to get the width of your boning case. So I'm just going ahead to show you guys how I made that boning case. If you do have any questions or you're confused at any part of this tutorial, my comment section is open for that. Here I have 4 layers of net. This will help me create that snatch that I want. See, 1 layer or 2 layers will not cut it out. It won't work. So go ahead and use up to 4. If you're on the plus size, you can use like 6 layers of this. I'm going ahead to pin this just before I arrange the loop the way I want it to look. When you don't layer it, that's why when you insert your boning and then you snatch the corset will be giving you, the boning inside the corset will be popping out, will be bulging. We don't do that over here, please. You can see when I snatch my corset, you can see how firm and nice it looked. And please avoid stretchy illusion net. You see, for this lower part, please avoid stretchy nets. So use a more stiff or more structured net that doesn't have stretch to it. After pinning this, I took this to my sewing machine to stitch down. You guys, this inspiration just came while I was doing this. So there's no specific measurements to achieving this. You can create your own design, play around with it. That's why you're a fashion designer now. Hmm? Done with all of that, I'm going over to cut off my darts for the front upper piece. So basically this will help us create or make the bust take shape. You guys, who else noticed that my nails broke? Like my middle finger for my left hand side. Look at that. Anyways, back to business. We're going to be sewing the neckline as well as the armhole, and basically this will just help us turn this inside out. This is why I said we should cut out 2 pairs of this part. Leaving the side, we're going to be joining our shoulder open. We're going ahead to top stitch round the neck and as well round the armhole. Don't worry, the stitches are not going to show because I intended beading on this part. Went ahead to close up the dart for that side, as you can see, and you see it's already taking shape, you get, and we're going to repeat the same thing on this other side as well. So I'm satisfied with everything. I'm going to be joining the lower part of the front to the upper part of the front. Going ahead to pin all of this. Pinning makes your life easier. You guys already know the drill by now. After stitching this down, now I can see the vision. Like the vision is coming to life. On this left hand side, I'm going to be showing you guys how we finish this up. I'm going to be using this tiny piece of illusion net to cover this up, and after doing that, I'm just going to stitch everything. Do we all agree that this part is self-explanatory? Because I mean, I feel like if you follow through with this video, then you should be able to get this right. Guess what it looks like. We're going to proceed to the back part of this pattern, and basically what we're doing is we have 4 pieces of this, 2 on each side, and we're going to repeat the same thing we did for the front upper part. We're going to sew the neckline and as well as the armhole, but I'm going ahead to pin this down first just to avoid any movement because we already have 2 pieces of illusion net we're working with. You want to mark about 2.5 or 2 inches at the lower back piece, like I'm doing over there. You mark this and create this line. Next up, you have 3 inches of fabric and you place the 3 inches right side facing each other and you pin down. So you're going to be stitching this. You want to do this for both sides, cutting off the excess. I'm going over now to the upper part of the back, and basically what I'm doing is measuring out 1/2 inch and cutting off the excess. So the 1/2 inch we're measuring is the seam allowance, the sewing seam allowance. The side we're going to be cutting off is the part that is going to be at the back side, not connected to the bodice, while the side that has the 0.5 is going to be for our sewing seam allowance. After sewing that, you want to join your main fabric to your lining, right side facing each other, then stitch that down as well. We're going to be sewing this horizontally and also vertically. You just want to leave the side seam where you're going to be joining your side. You're not going to stitch that, and the bottom part you're going to leave that open as well. But you see that place you're going to be adding your eyelets to, you have to of course close that up, and that's what I did over here. So I turned this inside out and this is what it looks like. So for the side now, I'm joining the side of the back to the side of the front like so. So if you do this method, you should have like a very clean and nice finishing. I'm just going ahead to pin this in place before stitching. Done with all of that, you should have something that looks like this. Now tell me this doesn't look neat. You give this a good press, and I'm going ahead now to sew my boning seam allowance. So basically this will help me insert boning to that part I'm sewing and add my eyelet holes. Doing a quick check to see if my boning is going to fit into the boning case I have made, and of course it did. So I'm going to create my loops now, my holes basically, with my eyelet machine. Done with fixing my eyelet, I went ahead to make an extra boning channel by the side. Corset is already taking shape and firm. Look at this, guys. Anyways, I went ahead to try this, and here's what it looks like. I added my breast cup to this. I'm going to be still covering the breast cup with a matching color of fabric. So you see the way that back was. Yes, we're going to be adding this loop at the back, loop as well as buttons. So I'm going ahead to measure this out before I'm sewing that down. Done with the side, we have our loops. I'm going over now to the side we're going to be adding our buttons to. I'm just hemming that down. Once you're satisfied with the placement of your breast cup, you can go over now to just take this out of your mannequin or from your client's body and either hand stitch, or you could use your machine to run through. I'm going over now with my applique, and with this process you can be creative and do whatever you want to do to your corset. If you notice, guys, I beaded on the neckline and also around the shoulder and armhole. If you can, I will recommend you use a fishing line. It's so much easier to work with than using the regular thread. So basically, I'm just going now to stitch and sew wherever we have our applique. This is why I said you need to be creative, because if you notice, I beaded around the corset bodice, and right now I didn't like how plain it was looking, so I went ahead to cut this organdy fabric. The width is 7.5 inches, and for the length we're working with 34.5 inches. So guys, we're going to be creating the structure. Right now I started off by folding the edges, so we're basically just going to be hemming the edges. Hemmed it in a way that it will be easy for me to insert, you know, those very thick fishing line. Yes guys, I don't know how many millimeter it is, but when I find out, I'm going to leave it in the description box below so you could check that out. So you're going to hem the both side, which is the rough edges basically. So guys, I went ahead to create more, you know, casing for my fishing line where I'm going to be inserting the fishing line. And what I did is I had 5 yards of the thick fishing line, and I just went ahead to just create 5 cases. So you can create as many casings as you want depending on the amount of fishing line you have on ground and how you want your structure to stand. So here is what it looks like. Tell me this doesn't look good. Now this brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you do have any questions, the comment section is open. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with your loved ones, subscribe if you haven't. It will mean a lot to me. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.